Hello, my name is Gilberto de Paiva. I'm a physics professor at the São Paulo State College of Technology in Brazil. I'm here to present my work proposing that the concept of pattern recognition can be a key concept to philosophy of science, particularly to philosophy of mind. Let's see. The title is A Universe of Conscious Mechanistic Patterns, where I try to show how the concept of pattern or pattern recognition, mainly mechanistic pattern recognition, can be a key concept to build and try to understand the concept of consciousness in philosophy of mind, and also physics itself or the universe as a whole. So, what is this idea of a pattern recognition universe? The main idea is this: the main proposal is that all physical laws, all physical interactions, physical particles, physical systems, etc., were all discovered by pattern recognition. If you think about it, every particle, every physical particle were discovered by pattern recognition. In the laboratory, they discover what? The patterns of its existence. So a pattern recognition experiment that in data analysis that uh, discovers any particle or an interaction, physical interaction. But this is not only for physics, it's the same for chemistry, biology, the whole science. In the day life, since we were born, all we do is to recognize patterns of the environment, of social interactions, language, etc., etc. So all we know are through pattern recognition. Everything we know, it was because we recognize its patterns. So all things are patterns. Everything in the universe that we know are patterns. Of course, they are not only patterns, okay? They are matter, they are energy, etc., etc. Okay, but this does not. They are also patterns. One of its one of way of its constituents. Okay, is that everything are patterns. All things. So maybe we are locked in a pattern universe. I do believe so. We are locked in a universe where everything we know are pattern. If there's anything in the universe that is not a pattern, we can't even know yet, at least yet. Okay, so this is my strong premise here in this work to continue to propose new ideas on philosophy of mind. Okay, so could we propose or try to propose a kind of a pattern recognition philosophy? Oh, how important is the concept of pattern recognition to philosophy? So we know that pattern recognition is an established technological and scientific concept, for sure. No doubt in scientific literature, okay? Technical literature, scientific and technical literature. But is it an established philosophical concept? Or pattern recognition? Is pattern recognition an established philosophical concept? Don't, maybe, maybe yes or maybe no. It doesn't seem to be so important as a foundation to philosophy, the concept of pattern recognition. So, could it be a foundation to philosophy of mind? That's my proposal here, okay? Uh, to epistemology, also to ontology. So, let's consider a universe of patterns. So, what's the pattern recognition I'm referring to? I'm referring to pattern recognition mechanisms, okay? The idea that the pattern recognition that are mechanisms that perform pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is not only a statistical or computational tool. Okay, How does it works? The easiest example I can say is the Geiger counter here, the image. Okay, how does it work? It works like this. Radiation and ionizing radiation interacts with a gas atom here inside the chamber. What's the effect of radiation? It's kind of ionizing radiation because it ionizes the atom. Then, and the atom, the gas is under electrical potential. Okay, difference of potential. So when it's ionized, it, it will move and triggers an electron and ions cascade here. Okay, in red here, and the chamber is under an electrical potential, and and the ions cascade here closes a primary circuit here, and then there is an electrical current in the wire, and then that activates a circuit here. Okay, and then so what's happening here? A physical activity, a physical interaction occurs as an input in the particle ignition, but what's the result of a particle ignition? A physical interactions or a physical activity also happens here. What happens here? For example, sound or a display changes its image, etc., etc. So this is the idea of particle ignition mechanism. Okay, so but what is this in physical terms? It's physical interaction chain. It's a chain of physical interactions. Particle ignition, not only particle, any mechanisms, okay, are chain of physical interactions. So, and where does particle ignition begins? Is there uh, a part or step here, a place here that it begins? No, everywhere. The whole chain for us human, the whole chain has to occur for us to know that there was ionizing radiation here that interacted with this atom. But for the atom, let's not talk about panpsychism. For the atom, of course, atom does not have a cognitive in the sense of human, but they they know, of course, not know exactly, okay, that there is an radiation here because the interaction made it uh, be ionized. The same for the others atoms here. The same for the electrons in the wire. The electrons in the wire uh, were activated by the cascade of ions here. Okay, etc. It's of course not only because this, because of the potential here, etc., etc. The electric circuit here is activated by the current in this primary circuit, okay, etc., etc. So this is the idea that partial ignition is the or the physical interaction is what triggers the detection or the cognition of what's happening here. Okay, of course, I will link this to panpsychism because even one physical interaction is a partial cognition event. We cannot say that which part of the a priori, okay? We cannot say that which part of the physical interaction chain is what characterizes partial cognition. A priori, any part, okay? Continuing, knowing that partial cognition are mechanisms, okay, mainly mechanisms. Now, in this my point of view, what are patterns? Let's talk about it. So let's take a very simple mechanism, a lever here. How does it work? A physical interaction occurs on the left side, and the output organize the right side as an output, organize that interaction. Okay, so a force is applied here. What's happened? A physical value, the position of the left side changes. So there is a physical quantity variation, a physical quantity variation that triggers a partial ignition event. But what's the result of the partial ignition event? Is also a physical value variation, another physical value variation. So partial ignition are physical quantity variations in the input and output. Okay, of course, because it's a mechanism. Okay, physical mechanism. Uh, so one way of a basic way of saying of interpreting what are patterns are physical quantity variation, physical properties. Okay, variation. There, why variation? Because to recognize a pattern, there must have an interaction chains. Interaction chains are physical are due to physical quantities variation. There is no way that a complete static device could recognize a pattern, okay, without physical quantity variations, okay. So can our universe exist without physical variations? Maybe, but we could not know it would exist. Why we could not know it would exist? There would be no recognition to. There is no way to recognize its physical values because it needed any mechanism needs physical quantity variations to occur or to function. Okay, so that's could be related to an idea of mathematical epistemological universes. Because why? Because why do we perceive the universe as mathematic quantities? Because maybe all we perceive, all we know in the universe, all we recognize in the universe are variations of quantities. Okay, uh, so partial recognition, the main line of the main field of partial recognition are statistical partial recognition, also computational partial recognition. Most publications are in these fields. Um, the one of the definitions of partial recognition is the classification. Uh, okay, the main definition, but it's not only this. What I'm bringing here, talking about, is not only this. Is partial recognition. Partial recognition is also the mechanisms. Okay, in and other people also think about it. We discuss this publication. We discuss from the natural sciences to the field of pattern recognition that a single unified theory of pattern recognition can be dismissed. Pattern recognition is not is not only there's not only one way to view what's pattern recognition. Okay, as proposed by the famous Freeman Dyson physicist talking about. Okay, uh, in physics, partial recognition is everywhere. Some example here: particle ignition and event reconstruction in particle physics experiments. Another one: robust physical discovery via supervised and supervised particle ignition using Euler characteristics, and so on. Some people talking about it. Talk about it. Is theoretical physics the same thing as mathematics? Quotation from this paper here. Quantum mechanics can be interpreted as a canonical method for solving particle ignition problems. A, according to this author, a reflection to of the fundamental laws of physics. So particle recognition is related to fundamental laws of physics. Okay, as some scientists talking about. Okay, uh, another one is mathematical pattern the theory of everything. Okay, this is only a report, but another paper. But people talking about it. Okay, pattern recognition as a fundament of physics of science in general. Okay, Thomas Kuhn, what is a paradigm is an accepted model or pattern, and this go on. Okay, so my proposal here is that pattern, the concept of pattern recognition can be a very important concept for the philosophy of science. Okay, so what I'm talking about is some kind of pattern recognition cosmology. Of course, not cosmology in the famous uh, field of physics, but to say how pattern, the concept of pattern is important as a fundamental concept of philosophy of science. Okay, how that's what I'm trying to discuss here. Okay, so I'm bring some philosophical questions. Is there anything in the universe, in the known universe, that is not a pattern? In the known universe, in this line, my line of thought here, okay, of course not, because everything we know are from pattern recognition, so everything in universe, in the known universe, are pattern. Okay, so continue here. Can even think of anything that's not a pattern? Can we imagine it? Anything that is not a pattern? I tried for some years, and no, we can't. Okay, uh, are we locked in a pattern universe? All everything, the whole known universe is in some sense patterns. Okay, is a set of pattern. Okay, so we are locked in a pattern universe. Are we locked in a pattern universe? I think so. We are bound, we are locked, we are constrained to a pattern universe, at least in the epistemological sense. Okay, it's a kind of a pattern matrix, a matrix that where we only can interact with no with patterns. Okay, pattern entities, pattern capable entities. Okay, so one way to say to summarize this is that every physical interactions are isomorphic to pattern recognition. Isomorphic in the strong sense. Okay, why? Of course, every known physical interaction. Okay, uh, because every physical interaction uh, are are no were discovered by pattern recognition, and pattern recognition only occurs because we know how pattern recognition works, because they are physical interactions. Okay, it's kind of a tautology here. Yes, it's a kind of tautology. I will talk about it. Okay, it's a self-recurrent thinking. Yes, it is, but I'll talk about it. So it's only in the epistemic sense that patrocognition is important. We can understand, we can talk about it. I think it's even in on the ontological sense. Okay, let's see. This on a simple example. What is gravity? What is the concept of gravity? Okay, is it a force at a distance, like Newton said? It's a space-time deformation, like Einstein said in relativity, or maybe it's a quantum gravity or any other development in gravity that will be in the future. I don't know. I'm not an expert on these fields, but I know that gravity is a pattern. In any formulation, in any model of gravity understanding, it is a pattern. And there is no indication that we will construct or a gravity, a model, a theory of gravity that's not found on patterns. Okay, so uh, of course, gravity is a physical phenomenon that has its own properties. Okay, but one way of understanding gravity is that it's a set of patterns. Okay, now let's talk about how to link the foundations of physics in philosophy of mind. Okay, is it possible? Some people, I'm not the only one that asks this question. Okay, for example, this paper here, is physics of mind possible based on the few first principle as physics does, or is it possible to have philosophy of mind first principles as physics does? Another one. Causal physical processes are identical with consciousness, not merely correlate. Physical processes are identical. Causal physical process are identical to consciousness, not merely a correlation. Okay, so physical process and consciousness are intimately linked. So applications in philosophy of mind. Let's see here. Can we apply this to philosophy of mind? These ideas, my ideas, bringing here to philosophy of mind. A simple proposal, okay? Partial recognition is a fundamental cognitive concept. So partial recognition is a fundamental physical concept in the sense that every physical entity was discovered by partial recognition, but also as a it's a fundamental cognitive concept in the same sense. Why? Because we have cognitive knowledge of any physical entity by partial recognition. So partial recognition is important as a physical concept and also as a key cognitive concept. It links physics and cognition. It's a concept that links physics recognition to cognitive recognition. Recognition links both. It's a cognitive recognition is a cognitive concept and also a physical concept, since we recognize physical entities. Okay, so think is I can state that think is pattern recognition, as said. Turing said that thinking is computation, but computation is isomorphic to pattern recognition. How? How? When we processing, what does we process? We process patterns. Memory, what does we memorize? We memorize patterns. Learning, what does any cognitive system learns patterns. So all the basic cognitive functions are pattern recognition functions. Okay, can we apply this to, for example, consciousness, panpsychism? That's what I'm trying to I'm going to do below. I'm going to propose a definition of consciousness and a conceptual mechanistic model. Okay, a model of to understand, to describe consciousness, of course, as a mechanism. Okay, and panpsychism. Okay, as I talked before, as a cognitive physical pattern. Okay, so now let's face the consciousness definition problem, the problem of defining consciousness, the concept of consciousness. So it's well known in the literature, mainly in the philosophical literature, that the definition of consciousness is a problem. Okay, of course, some fields of neuroscience and medicine use practical definitions of consciousness, but uh, as a whole concept, consciousness the definition of consciousness is considered by most scholars as a problem. Okay, I bring some quotations here from some authors. Not worth hurry with the consciousness concept. Okay, consciousness can only be defined in terms of itself. It's impossible, unnecessary. Okay, another research doubts a systematic study of consciousness is even possible. People delude themselves what they are thinking about. Okay, so many people are even skeptical that a definition of consciousness is even worth hurry. Okay, so let's try to face this problem with the concepts of partial cognition I brought here. Okay, so I'm going to propose a definition to consciousness, consciousness definition proposal here. So why is it needed for a consciousness definition? What is important to have a consciousness definition? Because if you are going to try to face this uh, consciousness concept as a scientific concept, in successful fields of science, scientific concepts in successful fields of science establishes its definition. Any successful most successful fields of science establish definition of its concepts. So it's important. I think it's important for in the consciousness case either. Okay, so let's make some trial. First trial: pattern recognition is equal consciousness. If everything in the universe are pattern, consciousness must be also linked to pattern recognition. Okay, let's see. First trial here: if I recognize a pattern, I am conscious of that pattern. A very simple definition. Okay, that's that says that a cognitive system, if a cognitive system, recognize, have a working output of physical values uh, of an input pattern, it's conscious of that pattern. Okay, very good. It's a simple one. At least it defines what could be a conscious activity. I'm not saying that it's enough or sufficient, okay? But it's a very simple mechanistic definition. What's the problem here? Uh, it does not consider unconscious cognition. It not takes account of unconscious cognition. So if any cognitive mechanism recognize it, it's conscious. A pattern is conscious of that pattern. If it does not recognize, it's unconscious. There is no unconscious. It's not conscious. Okay, it's not conscious. But there is no unconscious cognition. The cognition here only means conscious. And of course, this definition is problematic because any interaction would be conscious. That would be everything are conscious because everything that interacts, since it interacted, it's recognized its pattern. Okay, anything would be conscious. So let's see if we can have a better one. Okay, so this the notion of unconscious process, okay, is important in the field, in philosophy of mind, even in neuroscience, brain studies, etc. Okay, in So this video it's become too big for my editor. So the next part of this we will record in another YouTube video. The next part will be the consciousness model. Okay, the link will be somewhere in the description or in the comments.